I gotta call this guy and tell him this price. And the nicest man in the world, by the way. So I call him, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, if he says to me, "You are high. You are the greediest, moronic lunatic. Who the hell do you think you are?" I would have been like, "Thank you for the constructive criticism. Have a nice day." But instead, he's like, "When do we start?" You this right now because I was so freaked out that I was like, okay, all right, I have to immediately go out and buy a pantsuit. Because the lady in the room wearing the pantsuit is confident. She knows what she's doing. She has a higher education. So I went out and I bought this pantsuit. I show up at the place we're supposed to meet. Of course, I got there really early because I had to park 10 blocks away. And I didn't really know that much about this guy. All I knew was that he was unhappy in his job and that he wanted help figuring out what his next move was. So I'm standing there waiting for him, and he pulls up in a brand spanking new BMW. He gets out, and he is this tall, athletic, confident, handsome man in an expensive suit. And I'm standing there in my $29.99 Passions of Echo Park pantsuit, feeling like a 7th grader talking to someone's dad. And now, have any of you ever had a near-death experience? Had a near-death experience, right? So I almost drowned once, and everything started going in slow motion. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like seriously, time becomes, like space becomes viscous, time starts going in slow motion. And the reason this happens is because when you're about to die, your entire brain is focused on survival. It cannot process anything but survival. It's really, really primal. And since time is a mental construct, it doesn't have time to deal with time. It just doesn't. So it goes out the window with the rest of the stuff, and so time truly does slow down. So I follow him into the building. And we get in there, and we sit down, and he starts to tell me how unhappy he is and what a big fat jerk he feels like because his job pays really, really well. Good at it, he's so grateful for it, but he's so unhappy it does not feed his soul at all. And I'm sitting there and I am and he talks to me for like 3 hours and tells me what actually does light up his heart and what he would love to do. And by the end of the session, he quits his job and he starts his own business consulting firm, and I work with him for the next 3 years. The reason I'm telling you this story is because even though I felt like a big fat fraud, even though I looked like a Republican senator, I was in the zone, right? I was having a near-death experience. There was nothing. When you're in the zone, your fear, your insecurities, your horror that you're charging this, just such a dear man, so much money, and it's very possible you have no idea what the hell you're doing. And by the way, did you see the car I pulled up in? None of that can get into the zone. Because when you're in the zone, you are totally in alignment with universal intelligence, right? Right. And so, I just want to take a second, you guys, because I know you're all down with the program, but do you really think about the fact, universal intelligence, I'm going to really sink into this one, the stuff that created all that is, the cosmos, my finger, this stage, the seats you're sitting in, that created all that is who we are. Come on, right? Like, who are you And it's everywhere. It's in everything. Every single thing is universal intelligence. So that like little seed that the tree grows out of is full of information. It's got information. It's a seed. And then it knows how to use air and sun and water and dirt to grow into a mighty, mighty tree, right? We have that in us too. That's cool. You know? And so I always think about my dog when I think about this, because he knows. So animals are totally in alignment all the time, right? Like they are much more intuitive than we are. And my dog sitter tells me that every time I go away and I'm on my way home, like 24 hours before I get home, he knows. She hasn't done anything differently. She hasn't said my name. She hasn't fluffed a pillow. But the dog knows, and he sits in front of the plate glass window that looks out at my driveway and waits for me every time he knows. Right? So when we arrived here on Earth as babies, we were as in alignment with source energy because we had not yet learned all this other stuff. Now, that's amazing that my dog can do that, but can my dog make a cup of coffee? No. Can my dog build a skyscraper? No. Because he doesn't have an analytical brain. He's got an intuitive mind that's rocking, but he doesn't have an analytical brain. So that is the very, very, very cool thing about being human. The brain lets us do all this cool stuff that nothing else on Earth can do. But the very uncool thing about our brain is that's where we take in all this outside information, right? That's where we arrive as these pure little beings, and then our culture and our parents and everything around us starts telling us that our ass is too fat, and that our skin's the wrong color, and that our religion is incorrect, and that you shouldn't wear white pants after Labor Day. So, life is all about unbelieving the stuff that doesn't serve you. Because here is the thing. When you are in the zone and you are connected to universal intelligence, that is your authenticity. That is the authentic you. You were put here by this universal intelligence. You are representing universal intelligence, y'all. And your desires and the things that light you up and the things that make you the most you, desire literally means desire of the Father, okay? So it was given to you, your sweet, beautiful, unique, awesome, weirdo self. Your authentic self shines when you are in the zone and when you're connected to universal energy. All that other crap that's been heaped on top of you that you picked up from the environment around you just clouds that up, right? So the most profound thing you can do in your life is to nurture your relationship with universal intelligence and get rid of all the stuff in your analytical brain that's gunking everything up, right? Yeah. So, the good news is, you don't have to have a near-death experience to do that. And it's not a competition. It's not like we should be only in our intuitive mind and connected source energy. The analytical brain is awesome. So the sweet spot is when you get quiet enough so that you can hear what the hell your intuition is telling you, and then you take inspired action using your analytical brain, and that's when you have those quantum leaps, right? So when I was in my money quagmire and figuring my stuff out, one of the most profound things I did was change my thoughts. And I was making fun of it at the beginning, but it really is the humdinger, guys. That is the number one thing that you can do to change your life, is to get control of your thoughts. So I read this in all my books, and I was like, control my thoughts. And I was like, my main thought is, I can't afford it. I said I can't afford it to everything. Everything was I can't afford it. And so, because I was doing my homework, reading books, I was like, hey, that's gotta stop. So I was like, how do I want to feel? So I want you guys to all think about this, okay? Think about your big, gnarly wall that you're up against. That thing that you wake up, every morning, it's one of the first things you think of. this problem that you've got, this inability to achieve whatever it is, like the reason that you are so uniquely screwed up in this world, okay? So mine was that I was a big fat financial loser. And think about the phrase, and more importantly, the feelings that it brings up in you. Think about how that feels, okay? And so money for me was like stressful, and I was ashamed of myself, and I felt stuck, and it was heavy and hard. And so I was like, what's the opposite of that feeling? So think about the opposite of how you feel about this thing in your life. And for me, I was like, God, if I had lots of money, I would just be like, it would be easy, things would be easy, and I'd be in the flow, and I'd feel free and happy and light, and I just really got into the feeling of how it would feel. And then I changed, and I caught myself, and I was like, all right, so now, whenever I say I can't afford it, money flows to me easily and freely. Money flows to me easily and freely, and I'm gonna tell you, I didn't believe it. I was still in the alley, still driving that car. But more importantly was the feel. So don't worry so much about believing in your new mantra, because it's a lot. So, when you've got momentum going in such a big direction, I mean, this was going on for decades with me, right? So I had a lot of proof and a lot of feelings about how bad I was about making money and how wrong it was. So there was a lot of motion in that direction. So you can't take something that's going 100 miles an hour and suddenly turn it around and have it go the other direction, right? That doesn't make any sense. But what you can do is stop pressing on the gas. Stop giving it so much attention. So what I started doing, it wasn't even really about the money, it was about the feeling of ease and flow and freedom. So every time I started to get uptight, I would just lean in. I would you can conjure feelings up in your body so easily, you guys. I'm gonna tell you how to do that in a minute. But I started focusing more on that feeling, and then once it lost so much of its power and momentum over me, then I could get to the money flows easily and freely part. So not only do you stop giving it so much power over you, but here is a really interesting thing that we humans do. Oh my God, we're so ridiculous. Okay. So what are the 3 words that every human longs to hear more than any 3 words?
I like you. I like you.
You are right. Beats the hell out of my money for most of us. So here's what happens. When I'm saying over and over, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I also really want to be right about that, even though it does not serve me. So I'm like, anybody who came at me with, Jen, you're actually a good writer, maybe you could reach out to this company right from, I cannot, I tried that already. You don't make any money as a writer anyway, it's futile. And by the way, I am 40 and I have a lot of proof that I suck at this and it's just never gonna happen to me. And so I'm building up this foundation with all this proof to prove that I am right.